Hello, everybody. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's keeping well. So, I said this before. I used to have respect for this TD before we went to process and stuff like that, and it's gone AWOL, basically. Let's put it that way. Um, Mick Wallace obviously used to be a TD in Darlow, and he used to wear the pink shirt and have the hair kind of all bushy. And I used to have respect for him back then when the Irish war and stuff like that. Even as Shannon there protesting about US warplanes coming into Shannon and stuff like that. Obviously, news or culture that infringes, in my opinion, on Ireland's neutrality. In other words, but yeah, I used to have respect for him back then. Now, as we've seen for Mick Wallace, he is literally in China's pocket. He has blocked me on Twitter because I asked him why he was in China's pocket. He wouldn't answer it, obviously, of course not. But yeah, so we have seen him now going through China and literally now saying Taiwan is not independent, and it doesn't exist as a part of China. Now, first of all, as an Irish MEP, I didn't I didn't elect him anyway, but the Irish people, I'm sure, didn't elect him to go over and flirt with the Chinese government. That's a communist authoritarian regime. And it has infringed on Ireland's sovereignty. Let's be fair, it had a police station in Dublin, as you know, in infringing on that sovereignty. And that's the simple stat. That's the simple stat. We can't phrase it any other way. Even though the government might have got the snap and said that's okay. A few brown envelopes here and there, Chinese money, oh lovely. Eamon Ryan and all that, they'd be getting a few bob in the back pocket. And, to turn the blind eye, because obviously they don't give a shit about us. The Irish Joe, the Irish sovereignty, they don't care. They sell us away if they could get away with it. They sell the country away if they wanted to. Well, to be totally honest, they can't sell much more. They've sold away our fishing rights. They've sold away every fucking resource right that we nearly have in the country, all the oil and everything off the coast. They've sold it all away. They literally would sell us if they got away with it. They literally sell our grannies if they got away with it. They want to put our grannies in prison, first of all. They don't want to sell the grannies. They want to put them in prison for burning a few sticks and a few coal there, because Eamon Ryan said so. It's a democracy, don't you know? But yeah, it is frightening to see an MEP go over to China and to flirt with the Chinese Communist Party. And obviously, as you know, as a Western country, and obviously as a country that struggled to be free and struggled to get its foot on the road, obviously during the War of Independence, we understand freedom. We fought for freedom. We fought hard for freedom over hundreds of years to be free to have our sovereignty. And obviously nowadays we don't want the backwards idea of sovereignty. It's Micheál Martin. I quote Micheál Martin. That's not me. It's Micheál Martin that said that the tarnished is the moment former Taoiseach, of course. And that's the man Eamon Devereux would be happy of whole show hearing that. Or Michael Collins, I'm sure they would say what did they go out on that Easter Monday 1916 to do. I'm sure they'd be questioning that. But obviously the only Irish Joe and the only Irish citizen appreciates what they meant, the vision that they had for this country. And obviously, we have to just say straight, the politicians of today have destroyed it, have thrown it in the bin long ago. And they literally have tore up every inch of the Irish Constitution, the Proclamation of 1960, they torn it up, they tore it into bits, let's be fair, it doesn't exist now. It only exists in the hearts and minds of the Irish people. And it doesn't exist in the physical portion of authority. But going back to my point, that Mick Wallace, as an Irish MEP, should know better not to be going over to China and licking up to China and stuff like that. As I say, I'm sure the Irish people didn't elect him to Europe to go over to China and flirt with the Chinese government. I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure the Irish people don't want communism and concentration camps and stuff like that for people in Ireland. That's what will happen if we get too far in China's pockets. We already are far enough in it, but we can't have Irish MEPs flirting with the Chinese Communist Party. We shouldn't have anything to do with them. There's loads of other countries in the world we could talk to and negotiate with. As we've seen in the past, again, I don't have to explain the past, but we've seen what communism has done in the Soviet Union, in other countries, all the pain, suffering, and even continuously in China at the moment. Surveillance, state mass surveillance. You're only allowed to do what the government tells you to do. You're not allowed to go anywhere unless the government tells you to. And again, as we know, during the lockdowns, basically was China here, to be totally honest. But, as a country, we should value our freedom, and we shouldn't let MEPs go and try to undermine our state, our democracy, obviously. I know that's used often, but I feel, as I say, Taiwan is the official Republic of China. There is no other China but Taiwan, the Republic of China. There's no such thing as the People's Republic of China. Because that's the official China, and that is, and I know many people will disagree, but I feel very strongly about it, that we should not recognize authoritarian regimes. We shouldn't talk to people who are, and we have to admit it straight away, that China, the People's Republic of China, is the biggest threat to the Western world and to mankind. We have to admit it straight. We've seen the size of the Chinese army. We've seen what they're capable of. We've seen the dangers they pose to life and limb. And again, many people say, what's the big deal? But it's the fact that Mick Wallace was elected to go to Europe to make sure Ireland, the Irish citizens, benefit from being in the European Union, obviously, and to get funding for projects and stuff for Ireland. Not to go over and talk to the. I wouldn't elect them anyway. Even if it was given €1 million now from the Chinese government, I wouldn't elect them. I'd throw back in their face and say, I rather better. I won't even phrase that word I was going to use, but so yeah, that's just basically my point. I feel very strongly about it, I have to say. I'm sure many people should. It's not right. It isn't right. Same as him and Ryan going over for his little visit to China. We shouldn't have anything to do with it. So was that. But yeah, democracy.